keep you playing. This might actually tie into the point that I was making previously before this video.
One does not simply play gacha games. Gacha games play you. One does not simply play gacha games. Gacha games play you.
Okay, what does that mean? All right, let's get into it. Oh, we're starting off with the top-up shop already. Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the predatory practices of these games.
Yep.
Limited time events or characters, fear of missing out, obscure pricing, and so on. But how true is that? Well, today, allow me, a psych major, to chime in, which is, by the way, one of the most useless degrees in college ever, but
I also agree. I also think having a degree in something doesn't make you smart whatsoever, but if you have a career in the field in which you're successful at, then it makes a world of difference. I'll be real, anybody can cheat their way through college. I don't give a fuck about degrees. I think all that means is, hey guys, look, I wasted money on a piece of paper. If you don't have a job from it, you wasted your fucking time, you wasted your money.
at least I get to make this video. I'm going to show you all the psychological tactics I can think of in which gacha games employ to retain and keep you playing. At this point, I've reviewed several gacha games, and I've even started out this channel going over one in particular. Hopefully at the end of this video, you will understand the many nuances of these predatory game practices and know how to take precautions to not—
That's debatable because studying for a degree gives you more experience and proficiency in that field. Okay, well, if you're so good at it, then why don't you have a job in the field? So rather than just say, oh, I'm this occupation, when you just say, I have a degree in this, okay, then why aren't you working in the field? Oh, man, you must not be that good at it then. That's just my opinion. When you have to brag about your degree, how about you brag about the job you have? If you don't have the job, why don't you have that job? Why don't 100% of college graduates get careers in their main field of study then? Because they're not as good as they think and they cheated their way through college. And I'll be real, if you pay a college system enough money, they'll just give you a degree for fun. You know? Because all the people who were good at getting the degree have the jobs. And all the people who just skimmed through don't have the jobs. Yep.
Not get yourself trapped in the hands of these developers. My name is Psyche. Let's get started.
And for y'all all who are saying, oh, I'll take, I bet you didn't get the job. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I'm okay saying this. Because I went to college for 8 years, guys. Ask me how many jobs I got with my degree. Zero. Absolutely zero.
First, let's establish some expectations. By its core, gacha games, and by extension live service games, have two primary goals in mind: to have players play the game for as long as possible, and spend as much money as possible.
True.
But this makes sense if you think about it. As part of the player base, you would want your game's popularity to grow, and want to keep the developers within good financial status so that they can continue to make meaningful updates to the game you enjoy.
Well, the problem is it depends on what you mean by fruitful. It depends on how much money you want to give them. You know what I mean? Because these games don't cost as much as you think to run, right? Like if Genshin Impact cost $200 million to make the whole 1.0 version, and the Raiden Shogun banner alone makes more than that, well, it's not like they're adding in a whole version's worth of updates in every patch, right? So they don't really need, you don't need to make that much money. You know, make them work for it a little bit, man. Make them work for it. Where is my fucking Diluc Speedo skin?
I am also one to believe that the monetization and retention techniques don't have to be abusively implemented. One expectation I do have, which I understand some people may have critiques about, is endgame optimization. In a gacha game, this is handled by one of two ways. The first is by making endgame upgrades very grindy.
I always love the terminology of endgame. And what that means to player is so vague, and nobody really ever means to specify exactly what quote-unquote endgame is. And that's why I feel like endgame discussions never really prove fruitful, because I don't think everybody's concept of it is the same. I should make a video on that later.
Taking up resources that may take a while to obtain. This approach guarantees progression, albeit very slowly at a time. You know that farming every little of resources gets you closer to that final upgrade, and that is progression on your account. The light is at the end of the tunnel. You just have to get there. The second approach is by implementing an RNG gearing system. This will be your artifacts in Genshin. By making endgame progression chance-based, players won't know how close they are to their desired late-game build, since anything can happen with any given artifact.
Yep.
The advantage with this system is that you could get lucky. and instantly be able to get a viable piece of gear on your first try. But the disadvantage, as you may have guessed,
is you also may never get a good piece.
is that you could farm for weeks or even months and not get what you want, making progression an all-or-nothing scenario.
Yep.
I do expect either of these systems to be in place for any given gacha game. The question is, how well is it implemented? I try these games because some of them are pretty fascinating. I think for whatever reason, gacha games are home to some of the best storytelling. The game.
What the fuck are you on about? Gacha story sucks dick. Nah, bro, you're just wrong. They're just like, oh god, there's so much fucking bullshit. It's like stretching a 1 sentence to a 14-page college dissertation because your teacher put like a 4,000 words minimum. Oh god, no, you're just wrong. He probably researched that shit and saw, well, the story for this game is so good. No, it's not. And there's no way he played through that shit. It's okay. I mean, the stories have good moments, but getting to those moments is a fucking slog and a half.
Play loops are.
You know what has a good story? Persona. Fucking any game by Atlas. Catherine. You know, like, absolutely not. Like, this shit is just fucking cat, bro.
Simple, and unlike traditional live services, it's quite easy to jump into and play, considering most are mobile games and.
Oh, fucking Mass Effect. Incredible. Red Dead Redemption 2, I can't vouch for that, but I've heard very good things. Yeah, Detroit Become Human. Jesus.
Require relatively little maintenance.
Oh yeah,
So
Undertale.
for a bit of disclaimer, I tend to be a bit more skeptical when it comes to playing and reviewing gacha games. But that doesn't mean that gacha games can't be fun. In my early YouTube
They are
days,
fun.
I played indie roguelikes, which was a far cry from the content I cover today.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering why my gacha reviews always seem to be in the 7 or 8 out of 10 mark, this is because having gacha mechanics in a game, in my opinion, is already predatory in nature, no matter how good.
I think it's the best. I love it. And I think that's my problem. I have an unhealthy obsession. I think getting gear and gearing out is way lamer when I know, oh, I'll just go do this dungeon and then I'll get it. I like knowing that what I did was like a mathematical impossibility. And I got it. Like when you get a 40 crit value artifact, it's like, oh my god. Like knowing that it belongs to you. Oh, dude, I'm such a fucking fiend for this type of bullshit, bro.
The story, sound design, or lore are. A gacha game cannot receive a 10 out of 10 rating. It just feels rather disgraceful to compare to something like Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3. Now don't get me wrong, I find gacha games to be fun and interesting, but the vast majority of the time, the maximum I will grade a gacha game will be an 8 out of 10, which already means that I think it's very good. The reason I don't bring up
my thing is I have a separate scale where I only compare gacha games to other gacha games. Because I do think in general gacha games are just worse than normal games. However, their lifespan are a lot longer due to the fact that you can never really beat them because you can never really have perfect gear. So there's always a way that you can go online and get that upgrade, which I think is very cool.
Of these commonly used tactics in reviews is that we become desensitized to them since every gacha game is doing it.
Yeah.
I know it's there, I know the nature of live service games must have some measures of player retention in place, and I know these games need consistent funding to continue its development. But I also believe that there are ways to monetize and retain players well, and ways that are not so well. I find myself having more fun in these games if you know what they're trying to do. And now I'm going to explain exactly what those predatory systems are and how you can better take care of yourself as a player.
So here's the thing. If it says you should spend money on this, then just don't spend money on it. Just, if it says 99 cents, just don't get it. If it says $100, just don't get it, and that's it.
Even if there's no clear solution to combating some of these practices, I think just knowing what they're doing can help you see things more clearly. Let's start with how gacha games tend to time gate your progression.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered what kind of activity in the game gets you the most amount of XP or progression points while taking the least amount of time to do?
Dailies.
Well, let's take Withering Waves as a recent example. Following the footsteps of its popular predecessor, you'll notice that the two actions that will grant the most amount of XP on a routine basis are daily quests, which gives a whopping 2,000, and spending wave plates, which is in the hundreds mark for each dungeon run. While story and side quests can grant you quite a big amount sometimes, they cannot be repeated. Now, you could explore the open world, solving puzzles and opening chests for meager amounts of XP like an absolute plebeian, or you can just spend around 10 minutes of your day doing dailies and spending your wayplates to get over easily.
I think that take is so shit because walking around and doing the puzzles and collecting is like the fucking game. right? It's when people explore the world after they've already beaten that shit that's lame as fuck. Like, if you were to continue exploring the world after you've beaten everything in it just to collect mint, okay, you're fucking psychotic. But walking around to get some chests and do some puzzles, that's just fun. It's good. That's part of the fucking game, bro.
3,000 XP right then and there. Pretty sweet deal. This trend is not exclusive to Wuthering Waves, as a lot of other games I've played also do the same, where spending the time replenishable resource tends to grant the most XP, and what do you know? You can get more of these resources using real money. If you look up any guides on how to progress faster, a pattern for most gacha games is to tell you to log in every day, do your dailies, spend your resin, weight plate, AP, whatever it is, and repeat. From a time efficiency standpoint, this makes perfect sense, but you can probably see the implications of having daily missions as your main source of progression. They're dailies, meaning it would require you to log in every day, even if it's just for short bursts at a time. Add in some level requirements for quests and other types of character progression, and you have a system to encourage daily logins in order for meaningful progress to be made. This goes into habit formation, which is a point I'll bring up later. But for now, let's take a look at another retention technique. Live service games need a steady stream of new content to keep newer and existing players engaged. They can do this in one of two ways. The first is by actually making frequent and substantial content updates within a reasonable time frame. You can say whatever you want about Genshin, but their team has been stellar with content schedules and new events. You're constantly engaged with events or minigame modes, and the time to completion feels fair and reasonable. The second option, on the other hand, is by simply increasing the grind or the amount of time needed to get to the late game or the completion state, such as what FGO has done over the past year or so, by introducing append and servant coin upgrades, as well as making events 3 weeks instead of 2, in order to artificially
if you think it's bad now, just wait until Genshin Impact increases the level cap from 90 to 100. And people are excited about that. Artificially increase the stats that characters are able to achieve while changing the difference in gameplay 0 in order to make players have to play more, because we're going to bump up the amount of bullet sponging that these mobs are capable of. One of the worst changes I've ever fucking seen. And then you implement the new game mode where now you have to have like 18 characters fucking built in order to play the fucking game. It's a joke. It is. The state of Genshin Impact is a absolute fucking joke.
Increase the grind without actually providing.
We don't know what the levels do yet. Yeah, Karuai, you think that when you reach level 100, they're going to give you a new super passive? Maybe a third ability? I guarantee you they do nothing, and they allow characters to level up from talent level 12 at max constellation to talent level 15. It will do nothing but just make the mobs take longer to kill, and that's it.
Significant new content. It doesn't take a genius to figure out the latter is much easier to do than the former. The Battle Pass is also a popularized retention technique, but luckily in the gachas I've seen, they typically don't take long to do, which should be the case anyways. Most missions can be done by naturally doing your events or dailies. Compared to some live service games out there, the time to completion is way shorter. Now, I generally don't have a problem with these types of progression. The short daily grind allows someone to realistically enjoy the game extremely casually on the side. This is a trend for the games I've reviewed, but for the main things I look for is how natural or how easy it is to progress. A common trend is by complicating progression by introducing a large and diluted pool of currencies and resources to keep track of. Some games still do have a lot of currencies, but they're usually grouped up in a list, or only used when you perform certain actions. I'll show an example of this.
That's why every single new balance patch for Honkai Star Rail or Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact, they don't keep the same boss or essential materials, because then you can pre-farm them and actually get ahead. But if they introduce new materials, then you'll be forced to wait for every single new patch to have the optimized leveling experience and be able to increase your characters to proper level. It's really fucking irritating. It is really fucking irritating.
Done pretty atrociously. I'm currently playing Honkai Impact III, and this game has some of the most convoluted currency systems I've seen in a gacha game. Different modes take different tickets to enter, shops have so many currencies that you don't know how much it actually costs, and hardly any of it is explained to newer players. Next up are monetization tactics. The most obvious one is the obfuscation of the cost per gacha summon. As you know, most polls in gacha games use their dedicated currency, but the amount...
I'll be real, man. I really hate these 800% off value things, because then once you've bought them all and you start buying the actual, like, right way to buy their currency, which is like $100 for 40 pulls. Meanwhile, you just spent $5 for 1,000,000 pulls. It makes it feel fucking terrible, bro.
Use per pull
So
is
bad.
often not an even number. There's Genshin's classic 160. I've seen 130, 180, 200, 280, 300, and so on. Of course, each step that the player will have to convert real money to gacha currency hides the actual amount of money spent, so you lose track of how much your shiny waifu or husbando actually cost. If the amount per summon was, for example, 100 gems, and then I asked you, quick, how many gems per 7 pulls? Oh, 700. Easy. But if it was 160 gems per pull, and I asked you the same, suddenly you have to do one more calculation. You gotta use your head a little bit. It doesn't help that the majority of gacha currency packs are listed in off amounts, not in even purchases that equate to a certain amount of pulls. So in the human cognitive
I've actually never thought of this ever. That's very interesting.
processes, we use our brains in one of two ways. There's System 1, which is the fast, automatic process, and System 2, which is the slower, more deliberate way of thinking. If I asked you, what's 2 plus 2?
4.
Well, unless your name is O'Brien, you would have thought of 4 immediately. You didn't need to think about that. If I showed you a box of donuts and I said, hey, pick one, you got 5 seconds to decide.
Pink.
Then you might pick your favorite one, such as the chocolate one, or the plain one, or the sprinkle one. You don't necessarily need a reason to pick a donut. When you do these actions, you're using the System 1 way of thinking. Automating these processes are helpful in everyday life. Of course, if we gave a thought to every single action we did, it would be very inefficient. On the other hand, certain decisions you make in life, such as which college to go to, which job offer to accept, we would often have to sit down, weigh the pros and cons, and really think about it. This is System 2 at work. A general rule of thumb, we hate using System 2. Because we actually have to use our heads. This is especially seen in present days, where social media sites like TikTok and Twitter promote a constant stream of stimulation to keep you hooked. Don't think, just consume. Mindless consumerism is a topic that would probably take way longer to dive into, and a topic that's not necessarily related to this video, nor do I have the knowledge to go over it. But this is a problem that's very
See, that's why people watch my stream, because rather than having to make their own opinion, they can just agree with mine. And then it's just way easier, right? Yeah, take is making sense here.
Prevalent in the present day. This is exactly something that gacha games' cousin, casinos, try to exploit. By obfuscating the cost of the gambling currency, you lose track of how much you actually spent. And if you don't get what you want, especially if you're in the heat of the moment, you're not thinking, okay, so I need to spend this much money to guarantee the item I want. Instead, you're thinking, I want this, and I need to spend more money to get it. How much? I don't know, and I don't care. But I need to spend money until I get it. The best way I can mitigate this is by calculating roughly around how much gacha currency I need in order to guarantee the results you want. Remember, casinos, and by extension gacha games, don't want you to think. It is to their advantage for you to mindlessly consume and spend money until you get what you want. The one trump card you have as a gacha player is the pity system. This is, in my opinion, the main differentiator between classifying gacha games as gambling or not.
Yeah, who's gonna tell them about FGO summon system? Who's gonna tell them about Summoner's War summon system? Yeah, man, pity system in all gacha games. Yeah, I know, bro. I know.
You can't pity a jackpot on a slot machine, but you can guarantee your 2D waifu here. For example, in Genshin, I generally try to save enough to fully reach pity to guarantee one copy of my desired character.
Yeah, makes sense.
When I pulled for Chloride, I had around 27,000 Primo Gems. If you do some rough calculations, a round of pity is around 80 pulls, so multiplied by the 160 Primo Gems per pull, that's around 12,800. But in case I lose the 50-50, times that by 2 and I get around 25,000. In this scenario, I am guaranteed to get at least one copy of Chloride. Meaning I can't get enticed by my impulsive behavior to spend money because it will never reach that point. For the record, if a gacha game does not have a pity system, and believe me, there still are these days, then the section where I review monetization will instantly get a failing grade. I generally judge the game by the generosity of the gacha currency given and the rates that a player can realistically obtain new items as a casual. Another subtle practice is the use of a free daily pack found in the cash shop. Whenever you log in every day, there will be a red notification button next to the shop, which you can go in and claim your daily free goodies. Now, the idea for this one is that when you're in an environment where you're expected to buy things, you're more likely to spend money. Of course, in a virtual environment, this can be a bit.
That's why a lot of the games that we play have a free daily collectible they can get from the store. Or whenever you level up to hit a certain level, they take you to get you your mini reward. But then those same free collectibles that you get from hitting 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, there's also a pay-to-win option that are loaded as fuck. And that's their attempt at getting you in. But you have to stay strong, brothers.
Bit different, but the idea is the same. Path to Nowhere actually does something pretty sneaky.
Same thing with the battle passes, where you see, oh, here's the free battle pass, and it sucks. But then if you pay $19.99, you get the good battle pass that's just so conveniently shown at the bottom to show you all the rewards that you're missing.
Sneaky here, where they put the free pack on the right side of the cash shop, so you have to scroll through all the paid stuff in order to see it. Not only that, one can easily defend this by saying, well, at least it's better than nothing. You're still getting a bit of free extra goodies every day, so you should
better than nothing, Lamau.
So be grateful for it. You see, we're defending predatory practices one step at a time. Now, here's something dangerous that some live service games might try on you. Remember System 1 and 2?
Yes.
Well, let's go back to that college application example. If you were offered to be accepted into 2 different colleges, you will likely have to research the backgrounds and suitability of your choice, since it is a pretty big choice in one's life. But let's change this scenario a little bit. What if you are given 2 offers, same as before, but both colleges send you an urgent email? If you don't accept the offer in 5 minutes, then both offers will be rescinded. Uh-oh. Now we're running into a problem. You need to decide now.
Yeah, here's my decision. College is a fucking scam.
Now, you can't rely on searching things up or really thinking about your choice. In this scenario, you're forced to use the System 1 method of thinking, when this decision really should have required System 2. You have to go by your gut instinct. Let's relate this into a game. If a gacha game gives you a flash sale deal, where you can spend quite a lot of money for some in-game resources, but you don't actually know how valuable those resources are, or they're worth the money at all. But, uh-oh.
Let me tell you why I say college is a scam. I'm going to break this down for you, and you guys are going to understand why it makes sense. And you guys are going to end up agreeing with me after this. Let me tell you why college is 100% a time, not 5%, not 10%, 100% of the time a scam. Let me tell you why I say it's a scam every time. College is a scam for people who go in half-cooked, who barely try, who skim through, and maybe get themselves a degree. Maybe. College is never a scam for people who go in, work their ass off every day, and get to the top of their classes and kill in their career field. And the reason why I say college is a scam is because for the people who are going to skim through, they need to know that they're wasting their money. And the people who are going to work hard are smarter than me and understand that I'm wrong. That's why I don't care about that's why I say it so often, and that's why I don't care. Because people who are intelligent will understand that my advice doesn't mean shit anyways.
It's actually a limited time offer, and it's going away in just 2 minutes. Well, now you have to make an impulsive and instinctive decision to buy it or not buy it. When we're under stress, we often don't have the luxury to think things through, and this is exactly what is being exploited. Now, this technique is nothing new in gaming, but used quite often by pushy salesmen, nudging you to sign a contract. I don't see this tactic being used very often in gacha games, but this is something I want to bring up.
Real quick, what's the name of this character? What's the name of the pink fox girl in the latex? I know this chick. I knew this chick. I need to kill the fucking lizard, man. Yeah, anyways.
See this tactic being used very often in gacha games, but this is something I want
She's like Ting Yun, but not dead.
to bring up. The next up is FOMO. You've likely heard of this term before. It stands for fear of missing out. Limited time events.
FOMO, no, but I have heard of me homo, because all it does is pander to the gay people.
Cosmetics, characters, you name it. If you don't snag them now, they might not come back for a long time, if ever even. Ideally, when I judge these games, a player should not feel left out or behind progression if they join late or are thinking of taking a break. This is the reason I have a FOMO section in my reviews. I cannot in good faith support practices of having experiences or rewards locked behind time-limited events that don't come back.
True.
Especially if that event contains important lore implications or very desirable items. This is one of my biggest gripes with a lot of these games.
Yep, hate it.
It is very predatory in nature, and I really hope this isn't common practice when people see the success of Genshin when they do.
Here's my hot take, and you can disagree if you like. I feel like once every character goes off of their premium limited time banner, I feel like they should be added into the standard pool. I think it's just a good practice to have. I think it makes farming standard currency much more exciting. And I really don't like that once a character's gone, they're gone forever.
This. The effects of FOMO elements should be apparent. They force you to monitor the game constantly to ensure no rewards or events are missed. You might not necessarily enjoy playing the game, but rather it will make you feel pretty bad if you missed out on something important.
Yep.
It's completely to the game's discretion if they want to rerun any past events or make past content permanently available. Some do it well, and some not so well. Now, something I want to bring up is that despite all these measures, getting someone to start an additional live service game is actually a very hard sell. Your time is limited. Everyone likely has existing responsibilities, such as school or work. Currently, you might play one or more gacha games. But how would you feel
I play fucking 4!
about adding one more to the pile? This year alone, we had Withering Waves launch, Triple Z and Azure Promelia coming later. The question is, are you going to start playing any of these games?
I'm going to play absolutely every single one.
And are you even going to give them a shot? If you have no plans to start a new one or even try it, what's stopping you? And how will any of them market itself so that you would at least give
Oh, look at that big old happy whale, bro. Dude, I want to play Azure Promelia so bad, bro.
them a try? And conversely, how badly would any of the games you're currently playing mess up to make you not want to play it anymore? In the post-information age where live service games have reached full saturation, every shiny new title around the block is vying for your attention. Players today have a lot of choices of what games they want to engage with. The major difference between your traditional live service games and gacha games is that gacha games are considered way more casual and does not require a large time sink versus something like
or large brand
Call of Duty. It's not unusual for one to advertise itself as a side game, one you can manage on your daily commute or morning routine and be done with in like 5 minutes.
Yep.
The traditional gacha game today have very short daily mission routines. It's way less stressful to manage if you add 5 minutes to your daily schedule. But even with such low maintenance, when you have to juggle and micromanage so many games, you'll have to make a choice.
I did. I made a choice. I dropped Cookie Run Kingdom, man. And it broke my heart. I had to. I dropped it. I dropped the cookie, man. And it wasn't easy, but I did it because I know it was the right thing to do.
Which ones to continue and which ones do you drop? Due to a lot of these subtle practices with retention and monetization, the choice can be quite difficult. A subtle way to induce FOMO is through the 30-day supply system, which is now present in a lot of gacha games. From a cost-efficient perspective, it makes perfect sense for low spenders to gain a lot of value with very little fees. But there's just one problem. As you may have guessed, if you don't log in for a day, this can make you lose out on those precious...
Okay, I'll bite. Who the fuck is this? What game am I looking at? Because this bitch is so fine. Does anybody know? Path of Nowhere. Bro. She's so cute, it's ridiculous.
rewards. The same for Battle Pass systems too. This idea ties to something called the sunk cost fallacy, and the natural human tendency to avoid losses, aka loss aversion. I mean, you've already committed so much time and money into something, it will be a shame to stop. This is a very strong motivator to retain players, but I do have a way to combat this. The sunk cost fallacy is exactly that, a fallacy. The main misconception here is that it doesn't matter what you do, you're not getting back the money you spent. For a real life example, it's like if you bought a
No, it's not true. It's not true. I have to keep playing Genshin because I spent $100 on it. If I quit, then I wasted my money. No, bro. You're wasting your life by worrying about it. The moment you spent money, it was a fucking waste. Not because you stopped playing it did it become a waste.
ticket to a concert. But right before the event, your friends invite you to go clubbing. You know that going clubbing with friends will be fun, but since you had already spent money on the concert ticket, you're more inclined to try that out instead, even if you may not enjoy it as much. After all, it will be a shame not to go. But this is just it. No matter what choice you pick here, the money spent on the ticket is gone. The rational choice here will be to go clubbing instead, since you know that your time will be better spent. Unlike money that one can always make back, your time is invaluable. In most live service games, there is a starter pack that lets you spend a small amount of money for a big boost. This can be as little as
And they do that so that way you put your credit card information, so that way after you spent 99 cents, it'll be a lot easier for you to spend $100.
$1 and is typically considered as your entry ticket. Since once you justify spending even that minuscule amount, you're now invested in sunk cost, and it's way easier for you to justify spending a bit more. Even if at the present time you don't enjoy the game too much, but since you know that you have invested money into it, you're more inclined to play it further. After all, it will be a shame to stop. Have you ever logged into a game you play every morning, did your dailies, and wondered, wait a minute, why am I doing this? What would happen if I just didn't log in for the day? When these retention systems are in place, it can almost make it feel like it has become part of your routine without thinking about it. This is habit building, and it is designed that way by nature. Here's my challenge to you. For tomorrow, just don't log in to any of the gacha games you play. Easy, right? Well, maybe at first, but try to think to yourself, what would you miss out if you didn't log in, and how bad would you feel about it? If you've been playing a game for long,
but my 60 gems, no!
It can be increasingly hard to quit. Because you're in so deep in terms of time and money invested, it would be such a waste to stop now. But let me suggest something that may change your perspective on this. Imagine the total amount of money you spent on a game as the total cost of a ticket used to go see a live show. Maybe you spend nothing. Maybe you spend a couple hundred, 200, 1,000, and maybe even more. On the other hand, the total amount of time you spend playing the game is the duration of the live show itself. The show may have gone on for a week, a month, a year, maybe even more. It may have been a very expensive ticket, and it may have been a long show. But even the best of shows must come to an end. You got your money and time's worth. Now that the show is over, it's time to go home. You're leaving the theater feeling satisfied and content that you've seen such a good performance.
Oh no, I'm feeling dissatisfied, and it feels like my asshole's gaping. Yeah, a lot of these shows sucked balls, man. They fucked me hard.
This is how I could imagine how letting go of a game could look like. You never wasted any money or time. It was all worth it at the end, and you're...
Here's the easiest way to let go of Genshin Impact. Think of all the things that you want the game to become, and then realize it'll never become them. And then if you ever need a reminder, watch the development updates. It's the easiest way to quit.
Ready to move on. There's a reason I say, thank you for watching, and as always, have fun with the game. As always, have fun with the game. Thank you for watching as always, and remember, have fun out there. I think with the growing nature of live service games, we often no longer play them because it's fun, but because we would feel left out if we didn't.
Yeah.
With all these predatory practices, I think often we forget why we play games in the first place. And
To
it's
have
to have
fucking fun.
It's as simple as that.
That's why all of you are like, oh, bro, you're cheating on Genshin. Bro, the game sucks. It's not good, bro. I'm going to just play whatever game is the most fun for me, and that's it. Company loyalty, brand loyalty is fucking bullshit. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. Everybody's upset. Okay, eat a dick.
Which means if you're not having fun with a game, and are playing for FOMO, sunk cost, or just gambling tendencies, just stop playing. I am demanding you to stop playing games that you don't find fun. Hopefully with the lessons here today, I was able to better prepare you for any future games you might pick up and playing them more cautiously to not fall into any of these traps. After all, gacha games can be fun, but just never lose sight of why you play them. Thank you for watching, and as always, have fun out there.
Nah, I'm good. Yo, great fucking video though, man. Great fucking video. Yeah, I really love showing these videos to my chat for any of these people who lack the ability to understand that their life is in their hands and it will be whatever they make it out to be. If there's a game that you don't like playing, it's very simple. Don't play the fucking game.